We have over 100 million Americans across the country that are either working or they're looking for a job. Out of all of those people, only 5% of them ever apply to a government job in any year. So why is it only 5%? Is the private sector really paying that much more? Not everybody works for tech. Not everybody can work for Google. In fact, the top 5 most common jobs in this country: cashiers with 3.6 million of them in the country, food workers with 3 million, janitors or cleaners with 3 million, warehouse jobs 1 million, and we have 1 million laborers. Combined, that's over 10 million workers that are stuck in low-paying jobs. These type of jobs, typically they don't offer benefits. They do not offer high pay. So why do we have over 10% of the workforce stuck in these kind of jobs? What will that do to an individual? If you're stuck being a janitor or a cleaning professional, you're probably not going to be able to afford to buy property. You're probably not going to be able to afford a college education or maybe your kid's college education. You can't save for emergencies. You're not even able to set a chunk aside for investments. So it's a downward spiral for a lot of these folks. But they're not the only jobs. I mean, we have jobs in the trades that pay quite well. You have administration type jobs, office jobs. There are jobs that pay well out there. But let's compare the average private sector wage with the federal government wage. Starting with the salary of a person that has 5 years of experience. So if you're in the private sector, your average person, they're earning $35,000 a year, which is about $16 to $17 an hour. And this average individual, they don't have a lot of benefits. They might not have any benefits. Let's compare that with someone in the federal government after 5 years. Usually, when you come out of high school, you try to get a government job, you're probably only going to get a GS6. If you're coming out of college, you might get a GS7. If you have a master's degree, you'll come out as a GS9. No matter what you come out as, after 5 years of working for the government, you should at least be around the GS9 level. And what does a GS9 get paid? Well, a GS9 Step 3 gets paid about $60,000 a year. And on top of that, they actually have benefits. They can go to the doctor when they're sick. They can take their loved ones to the doctor when they're sick because they're covered. They have health insurance. And the actual range for a GS9 is between $57,000 and $74,000 a year. And the pay chart that I'm using to do this comparison, this is the rural American pay chart. This is not a big city. This is not Washington, D.C. It's not New York City or San Francisco. This is what you call the rest of the United States. So it's at a lower wage. If you go to a bigger city, the numbers would be a lot higher than this. Okay, well, what about an individual that's been working a decade, 10 years in the private sector? Your average individual, we're talking about a 29 or a 30-year-old person, would be earning about $50,000 a year. And that's like $25 an hour. And once again, they might have benefits, they might not. But let's do a comparison to someone who's in the federal government after 10 years. This person would be at a GS11 or a GS12. Now, they might not be because in the government, you can work at a job and just decide never to get promoted. You don't have to apply for other opportunities. So it will depend on how ambitious, how proactive you are. But after 10 years, I'm telling you, you can definitely be a GS11, GS12. So let's look at what a GS11 Step 3 makes, and we see it's $74,000 a year with a range between $69,000 and $89,000 a year. It completely blows away what we're seeing in the private sector. Okay, so let's fast forward 20 years, 2 decades. What is the average worker making after 20 years? $60,000 a year. And that's only about $29 an hour. Now, I would assume after 20 years at a company, you're probably getting some sort of benefits. I know a lot of companies, they at least have matching 401k, if nothing else. But let's compare that with the federal government. After 20 years, most public sector workers that work in the federal government can reach GS13. In fact, you could probably reach GS14, right? It really depends on your situation, but we're gonna look at 13. GS13, what's the wage? What's the salary? We're looking at GS13 Step 3 coming in at $105,000 a year. So we've reached 6 figures already. And in this country, the average is not 6 figures. The average is about $60,000 a year. So as you can tell, after 20 years, you're hitting over the six-figure mark. And the actual range for a GS-13 is between $98,000 and $128,000 a year. So for the average federal employee, they are making double what the private sector employee is making. But we still have only 5% of people applying to government jobs. Why is this? Do people not know? I mean, that's one of the reasons I'm making videos like this. People don't know. They don't know of the opportunity and potential out there. They don't want to try. Are they scared of the federal hiring process? It's not that scary, right? Once you understand it, I mean, yeah, it's long, sure. It's a long process, but it's not scary. You can overcome it. This is something that you can do. The average person can do this. And by far the biggest benefit of all of this is the retirement. You get 3 retirements. You get Social Security, you get TSP, and you have FERS. You have a 3-pronged approach to retirement. You have a guaranteed pension. You don't have to lose sleep about the stock market because the pension will pay you. As long as this country is successful, you will have a federal pension. I mean, you can't even put a price on that type of security. Okay, so if you are interested in a federal government job, there are mainly 8 steps. 8 steps in order to get the job. And if you want to know what those steps are, I want you to watch this video next. If you would like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.